The following video was brought to you by GoDaddy.com. Save 10% on world-class hosting or any GoDaddy product when using the code POD88 at checkout. Now, the latest.
That is not long enough. We have got our next guest joining us today here on our big broadcast, coast to coast and border to border, on iHeartRadio and, of course, the Odyssey app, which always tickles me. If you want to find our, because, of course, we're on radio, so I can't say the P word, on-demand archived audio is available on TalkShoe and all the other various places. Aymie Daniels is with us today. She is the author of a fantastic, fantastic new book. Talk to us a little bit about your book, my friend.
Yeah, so my book, basically the overall arching theme is about spiritual emergency. So this is going through an awakening. Rather than looking peaceful and enlightening, it becomes a point of chaos and crisis. So this was actually something, it's a term that was coined in the 1970s by Stan and Christina Groff. So it's known about as far back as the 70s. However, it's still not appropriately dealt with in much of mainstream society. So the book itself is a pretty rough ride, but luckily, were you able to read it, Jiggy, by chance?
I read I've read a little bit of it, and I am in the process of finishing it because usually I like to read the books before we have the guests on. Yeah. But sometimes I only get through half of it or almost all of it. It is a fantastic read. Tell us a little bit about your writing process for this.
Well, it was partially due to I want to have a business, or I've now started a business where I'm teaching. You know, in a hero's journey, there's the portion that they call the elixir. So you come out the side of something like that and you have teachings. So that would be the point of that. But I want to share the story because I think a lot of times what happens is that the teachers come out the other side, but you don't know what happened or the process of how they got there. And I think it's really important for the people that go through these experiences to see the process, to understand that I didn't always look so together, you know, because it starts, I believe it starts on the last episode. So it's been lovingly referred to by one of my dear friends in the community as a madness memoir. So it does start at the last episode. Yeah, so it's where I call them non-ordinary states of consciousness. They're called lots of different things depending on the environment. But that's where it begins. And then I share a blueprint for the elixir, which basically is the healing process. So it's 5 steps. I'm currently working on my virtual courses for that. So that will be on my website, and hopefully I'll get to do some in-person teaching as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. We have got a great guest with us today. Aymie Daniels is with us. She has a fantastic book, An American Awakening. So let's talk a little bit about the concept of spiritual emergency. You use this term. For those unfamiliar, how do you define it, and how is it different from what, what psychologists or what have you might label as a psychotic break?
Okay. So it's not necessarily clear-cut, but I think so much of it comes from the experiencer. So there's a pretty clear definition that Stan and Christina Groff put out there. I'm not necessarily going to read through that. It's lengthy, and the language on it is a little bit scientific. But yeah, so there is. And for me, it was, I knew that the experiences felt profound and spiritual, but I didn't really have language beyond that. Plus, it was intermingled into a mess. So the awakening, it wasn't gentle, it's ego death, right? So it's the killing of the self, which is not always a beautiful process. Yeah. So it was definitely chaotic, and it really started about 14 years old, just gently about 14 years old, nothing huge at that point. And then 20 is when it was full effect. And I started to have the episodes and the breaks, the non-ordinary states of consciousness. And for me, really, when I was looking at it, I did a lot of writing during that time. I found, like, my own assessment of it was that the person that I was during those non-ordinary states was far more intelligent than I am. So when I would read it was very, because everything that I was looking at became very high level. When I would look at it later, when I'm back to more normal plane of existence. But it was, I kind of joke. So, right, I come on your show here at 2:00 Central today. Normally, that's all that time is to me. Yeah, that's all that time is to me. When I'm in that state, like one of the writings I'm talking about, like time suddenly becomes a very fascinating phenomenon that I'm absolutely interacting with. It talks about time here seems to be moving in circles. It's cycles within cycles. And in my office, there's many cubicles and dividers. If we could raise them all up, that is the world without time. So it's all like on a much higher level than I personally normally function. So what I felt when I was looking is that it felt very much like super sanity rather than insanity. And for me, it was very much a healing process, like something, because I was inclined towards depression, and allowing these non-ordinary states of consciousness to come in and do their work. I ended up, by 26, I no longer had any depression because I went through all the episodes. I didn't take the normal route, mostly due to that I didn't have, like, it was pre insurance parity laws. So they didn't even have those. So mental health care was pretty much non-existent. And then when I did go, there just really wasn't much offered up, so it was, I'd go, I'd chat, they'd offer medications, and I would leave. And I think one of the things I say in the book is, I'm like, what is it that you do here? And I do feel like for all the mental health care professionals, like I've now as an adult benefited, by having and working with therapists. And I know that the system, this is like late 90s, early 2000s, that it's evolved. We have absolutely evolved in mental health care. It's now something we're allowed to talk about, which in mine, the stigma, and the stigma is pretty strong still. And the misunderstanding is still pretty strong still. So I think that's why I felt that it was important to speak out, just because of so many people's misperceptions about, what I went through. I don't think that a spiritual emergency, I don't think that you have to have a spiritual emergency to transform. So I think that transformation, coming from a place where, maybe your mental health and your life is not that good, to that transformative process where you're living basically the life of your dreams, that's open to anybody, I believe, because it is about, for me, I ended up, and it was some way luck, maybe some way guidance, but I was in rehab when I was about 22 years old. Like, things had gone very much awry when I had those breaks. And I had a moment where I looked within, of like this person, like not the external, I'm experiencing like my identity. And it was that look within, and it started the journey of the internal transformation process, where I really started to concentrate and look at my mind and my emotions. So I didn't know that was going to lead to me getting better and better and better, and like coming out of this really messy process. But that's really what happened. It was through knowing myself. So typically, you walk in, if you're dealing with, bipolar or schizophrenia or whatever the different labels you might get, they're not going to tell you like, well, you don't know yourself. That's not what they're going to say. You need to understand your own mind and your own emotions. But that for me was the cure. So I feel really lucky that things went down that way, because it wasn't necessarily that I was in the know about that was going to be the outcome from what I was doing there.
That's awesome. We have got a great guest with us today. She joins us live. Aymie Daniels is with us. She is the managing director of Profit Source, a personal development company devoted to healing, transformation, and the power of looking within. You can get more information at profitsource.com. And her latest book is absolutely amazing, An American Awakening, the Interdependent, I hope I got that right,
Interdependent. Yeah.
relationship of spirituality and mental health. It is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all the other various book retailers. So, talk to us a little bit about what you're hoping people get out of this book.
So I'm hoping that people understand that you're not necessarily locked in. When I was, a part of the system, there's a lot of labels that are, I am this label, or I have this label. And I want people to understand that like we hold that potential for transformation. It's there, so I always say that I experienced, so not to hold it so tight that I can't let go of it. So I think that is really important. And then also just that mental health care as a whole is evolving throughout the book. Like it's an adventure where I'm going to different conferences and I'm meeting different mental health care professionals. But one of them was an integrative mental health conference in 2010 with the movers and the shakers in the industry. And they were saying 2050. So their projection at that point in 2010, they were starting the push. They were starting the push towards that new paradigm. So they thought it would take 40 years to come where we're in the world of transformation, mind, body, and integrating all of these different like laughter therapy and indigenous practices and, all these other different modalities, integrating that in. At the time in 2010, the concern was that it was all talk therapy and all drugs. Like that was kind of where it had landed at that point. So their hope was to start to push it in that new direction. So I think I have high hopes, that we're looking at, because it's not just mental health, right? That we're talking about. Really, it's the evolution of mankind. So it's much bigger than that. It's really embracing that spiritual aspect of ourselves. And I don't mean that in a religious sense. When I talk about spirituality, to me, it's that, when you close out your yoga practice and it's the namaste, like I honor the light in you as it is within me. So it's just that piece of us. So to me, that's what that means, really, the spiritual piece. And it's so inherent in each of us. I think that we don't necessarily need to use it if it makes people uncomfortable. It's just our mind, our emotions, and our consciousness. So, yeah.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. We have got a great guest with us today. Aymie Daniels is with us. She joins us live talking a little bit about this incredible, incredible book that she has put together here. So when you decided to put this book together, what was your goal, I guess?
So the goal is that I finally get to be myself, because this is a story. It is a pretty intense story. And then when you go through something like that, especially in our society, it becomes a source of like something that you need to hide because it's not understood. So I always felt like I was being just a small portion of myself. The interesting thing is that the gifts came with the crisis. So in order to operate and hide the crisis, I also had to hide my gifts. So I wasn't myself. Like I went into finance and, became a financial advisor, and just was kind of living that normal life, but it felt unfulfilling. And not to say I actually really like that type of work, but it's only such a small piece of me. And that environment, it really wasn't conducive to being my whole self, like including this madness memoir and this awakening. And so much so when I attempted to talk to the DEI folks about it, I ended up, they sent me to a disabilities group and then wouldn't return my phone calls. So it's that, to me, I'm like, wow. I was like, well, I'm not disabled, so it was very inappropriate. So that, to me, that was almost like lighting that fire a little bit, where I'm like, I need to speak, like I need to share this story. I want to, number one, teach what I learned. That's the most important part to me, is to making it to that point of being a teacher, and really helping other people. Because that would, to watch, I think my greatest joy is the moment that, because this is freshly out there, but it's that moment that I get the feedback of like, this made a difference for me, so someone comes to you and they tell you like this story. And I think especially for young people going through it, it's ultra important. Anybody that, deals with any mental health, which is everyone, could benefit from it, but especially for the young people that have that little bit of a rough ride ahead of them. So
I think that is absolutely amazing that the the DEI folks are like, we don't know what the hell to do with this.
that's what I think it was. Like,
They are,
yeah.
and this is what gives the righties and all the conservatives even more ammunition, that these people don't know what the hell they're doing. Because you obviously went to them with something.
Yeah.
And they're like,
yeah.
we don't know.
One other thing I want to mention about the book, Jiggy, because
Yes.
I read your bio before hopping on here with you.
Depending on which one you read.
Okay. It was like one that really struck me is that your love of indie music. So it sounded like somebody that. So all throughout the book, like I have different bands that like I don't know. I guess Sebado, like Modest Mouse. I'm not sure who appeals for you, but I think all throughout it, music is woven because I'm awesome. A huge music lover, and it's so much a part of my story. Still today, songs can come on, and it's the soundtrack to your life. It'll bring you back to that moment.
Yes.
Some of that's good, and some of it's not.
Yes.
Right, like, that was not so great. Yeah.
That is definitely the deal. We have got Aymie Daniels with us today. She joins us live here on our big broadcast. And so collaboration is key. In an ideal world, how could conventional mental health practitioners and drug-free practitioners like yourself work together to provide the best care for an individual?
Well, I feel that anytime that someone is in crisis, people in my area, like we won't touch that. So I think that the mainstream mental health, like they are prepared for those types of situations. And I don't think, from what I've heard, they're not always handled the best. And I would like to see some evolution for that. A lot of times people come out feeling violated and damaged and treated inappropriately. But at the same time, like when the drug-free or individuals, there definitely are facilities that will help people through drug-free, like an episode or, whatever you want to call it, non-ordinary states of consciousness. Interestingly enough, in the book, my brother was that person. So there's a part in the book where it happens to my friend. And I asked my brother, well, like, what am I supposed to do? And he's like, and he knew, like, his plan of action. He's like, you need to provide a lifeline to reality, but don't squash the experience. Just give him the space to go through it. Like, that was his direct command, and it made me kind of laugh, like in hindsight, where I'm like, oh, like not a job he signed up for, but that was his job. Like he was the one that was taking care when I was very much, not on the earth plane. Jiggy, your picture went out and I can't hear anything.
They had to call me this afternoon in the middle of a national radio show to try to sell me Medicare. But we have got Aymie Daniels with us today. So something that your book brings up, and some of the different things that you've talked about here today, and even, we just talked about it probably 20 seconds ago, the whole thing with music. That'll bring you back to various places. One of the things that I have recently heard about, which in a roundabout way just scares the crap out of me. But Bill Gates trying to block out the sun scares the crap out of me. But apparently, as Alex Jones and everybody likes to refer to him, the New World Order, these World Economic Forum people, they need a hobby. These people need a hobby, and apparently, their next hobby is they want to try to implant memories into people's heads. That's like a big thing now. And I'm
Really?
like, okay, so we're gonna screw people up even more than they already are. With your book and everything you've talked about here today, and some of the various things that we've been discussing, uh, that just scares the crap out of me. Of people going in and implanting memories into people's heads.
I have not heard anything about that. I'm going to say that's outside my wheelhouse.
Yes, and I was just thinking about the fact that, like you were mentioning there with the music thing, where you hear music and it'll take you back to those moments. And the thing is that if we're gonna start implanting memories into people's heads, well, why couldn't we implant a memory of them hearing a certain song, and it takes them back to this, and they're like, I don't. You're not supposed to remember that because it didn't take place, and
Is
it's
this
so.
voluntary? Is this voluntary as far as the people that
Apparently
receive
that
memories
they're gonna start trying to do this, and
yeah, I wonder what the
they're
benefit of that would be.
that's what I'm thinking. What is the benefit of this?
I'd like to remember a
Yes.
really exotic vacation that I didn't go on. my whirlwind trip through wherever. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
We have got a great guest with us today. Aymie Daniels is with us here in our program. So as we kind of wrap things up here, where do you go from here with the book, and what is next for you as an author and all that?
Yeah. So I will have another book come out. When I actually wrote this one, the mentor I was working with broke it up. She's like, all right, this is 3 books in one. So I definitely will have another book in the works, but at this point it's finishing up my classes. So the teaching portion is really important to me, kind of along the lines of like what you would see Byron Katie or Dr. Joe Dispenza or someone like that, so I hope to emerge into that world with some new and exciting information and perspective. So
That's awesome. That's awesome.
yeah.
So, before we let you go, how do people get a hold of you online, social media, websites, all these things?
Yeah. So www.profitsource.com, and it's PROPHET, profitsource.com. I do have ways to contact me through the website. And then I'm also on Instagram under Profit Source if you wanted to follow me on Instagram.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you making time for us today. This has been fun. We will definitely have to do this again. I would love to have you back when we can dig deeper into the book. And also when I get the book finished, I would love to have you back so we can discuss the whole book.
All right.
I appreciate you making time for us today. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you, my friend.
Okay. Thank you, Jiggy. You have a great day.
Appreciate it. You too. There she goes. That is Aymie Daniels with us today here on our big broadcast. And we thank you for paying attention to us as long as you have. If you find us on all the various places, leave a comment, feedback, all that stuff. Get a hold of us, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks for joining us here on your world famous